Tom Cruise has lived one of the loudest, flashiest lives Hollywood has ever seen. Blockbuster hits, global fame, shiny awards, and that trademark red carpet smile that never seems to fade. From his marriages to Mimi Rogers, Nicole Kidman, and Katie Holmes, his love life stayed front and center for decades. Cameras followed every move, every breakup, every headline. But here's the real twist. The biggest role in his life wasn't on a movie set at all. It was being a father to his daughter, Suri Cruise. For years, people side-eyed that relationship, whispering questions and wondering what was really going on behind the scenes. Fans noticed the silence, the distance, the missing moments. Now, the story just flipped upside down. At 19 years old, Suri made a bold move that sent shockwaves through the internet and had everyone asking one uncomfortable question. What actually happened between father and daughter? So let's rewind the tape. From humble beginnings to worldwide fame, Tom Cruise, born Thomas Cruise Mapother IV on July 3, 1962, rose fast in the early 1980s with raw energy, charm, and hunger that Hollywood couldn't ignore. The fame came quick, the pressure came quicker, and not every chapter stayed picture perfect. Tom's real breakout moment hit like a lightning strike. In 1983, risky business flipped the switch, but it was Top Gun that turned him into a full-blown heartthrob. Overnight, he wasn't just an actor. He was the face posters were taped to bedroom walls everywhere. From that point on, the roles didn't just grow, they exploded. Then came the serious respect. Movies like The Color of Money, Rain Man, and Born on the 4th of July showed a whole different side of him. His performance as Ron Kovic didn't just hit emotionally, it earned him a Golden Globe and his first Academy Award nomination. Hollywood officially stamped him as the real deal. By the 1990s, Tom Cruise was running the box office like clockwork. A Few Good Men, The Firm, Interview with the Vampire, and Jerry Maguire made studios trust him with anything. Then Magnolia brought another Golden Globe and yet another Oscar nomination. And when the new century hit, he didn't fade. He leveled up. Playing Ethan Hunt in The Mission, Impossible franchise from 1996 through Final Reckoning in 2025, he turned danger into branding. Add in Minority Report, War of the Worlds, Edge of Tomorrow, and Top Gun: Maverick, and the message was clear. This run wasn't luck, it was domination. By the numbers alone, Tom Cruise looks untouchable. His movies pulled in more than $13.3 billion worldwide, locking him into elite Hollywood history. He even landed a Guinness World Record with 7 straight films crossing the $100 million mark. Honors kept stacking up fast. An Academy Honorary Award, an Honorary Palme d'Or in late 2024, and even the U.S. Navy stepping in to give him its highest civilian honor. By 2025, the British Film Institute crowned him with its top fellowship for a lifetime of work. On paper, that's a flawless run. But here's where the shine starts cracking. Because while the world applauded, something messier was unfolding off camera. The real drama wasn't scripted, it was personal. Tom's private life didn't move as smoothly as his career, and the warning signs showed up early. Back in May 1987, Tom married actress Mimi Rogers. They connected through Church of Scientology, where Mimi had deep roots and worked as an auditor. It was also through her that Tom was introduced to the church in 1986. At first, everything looked aligned: beliefs, ambition, image. But the marriage didn't last. Less than 3 years later, they split in February 1990. Then things got louder. In a 1993 Playboy interview, Mimi dropped a comment that shook public perception, saying Tom had once thought about becoming a monk, adding that it impacted their intimacy. Suddenly, fans realized the cracks had been there all along. Not long after the headlines exploded, Mimi Rogers walked back her comments and said her words had been misunderstood. But behind the scenes, things were already heated. A close source later claimed the fallout was intense, with pressure coming fast and heavy. Tom, along with powerful agents and studio insiders, was reportedly furious over what was said in that Playboy interview. The message to Mimi was allegedly crystal clear: fix the narrative or risk serious damage to her career. Not long after, reports surfaced that she received a divorce settlement of around $4 million. Hollywood doesn't forget, and it definitely doesn't play soft. Around that same time, Tom Cruise was moving deeper into another world altogether. His connection to the Church of Scientology strengthened in 1990 as tabloids began openly reporting on his involvement. 2 years later, he confirmed it himself during a televised interview with Barbara Walters, explaining that Scientology helped him overcome dyslexia through its teaching methods. That moment shifted public perception instantly. By the early 2000s, Tom wasn't just a member. He was one of the church's loudest supporters. He formed a long-standing public bond with church leader David Miscavige, and that alliance became tightly woven into his image. For some, it raised eyebrows. For others, it raised serious questions. What most people didn't realize back then was how deeply this influence would shape Tom's decisions, not just professionally, but in the relationships that followed. While filming Days of Thunder in 1990, Tom Cruise crossed paths with actress Nicole Kidman, and sparks flew fast. That same year, they shocked Hollywood by tying the knot on Christmas Eve. The timing alone had people talking, and suddenly a new power couple was born. Over the next few years, they built what looked like a perfect life from the outside. They adopted 2 children, Isabella in 1992 and Connor in 1995, and for a long stretch, Tom and Nicole were treated like Hollywood royalty. Red carpets, award shows, magazine covers, it all looked locked in. But behind closed doors, things weren't as smooth as they seemed. Quiet tension grew, and in February 2001, the split was finally made public. Just days later, Tom officially filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The announcement hit hard and caught many people off guard. Years later, Nicole reflected on that period with raw honesty, saying she was a child at the time and still learning how to grow up. Then more claims surfaced. Former Scientology executive Mike Rinder later alleged the church played a heavy role, claiming Tom was pressured through intense auditing and that Nicole's phone was even monitored. Those allegations sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Nicole also addressed deeply personal stories that had been twisted by the media. "It was reported as a miscarriage everywhere," she explained, "and that didn't happen." She clarified that she experienced an ectopic pregnancy early in the marriage and a miscarriage years later, 2 very different moments that had been blended into one false narrative. The truth, she made clear, had been buried under headlines. The picture-perfect family image didn't just crack, it faded fast. After the marriage collapsed, both moved forward on separate paths. But for Tom Cruise, this marked the start of a much more complicated chapter. Emotionally, romantically, and publicly, everything shifted. And the questions about outside influence didn't die down. They got louder. Not long after the divorce, Tom entered a new relationship with actress Penelope Cruz, his co-star from Vanilla Sky. Their chemistry felt natural, and the relationship lasted close to 3 years before quietly ending in 2004. No major drama spilled out, but behind the scenes, curiosity kept building. Then came a serious bombshell. In 2012, Vanity Fair published a report that shook Hollywood circles. The article claimed that after the breakup, leaders within the Church of Scientology allegedly organized a secret effort to find Tom a new partner. Sources described what they called auditions, involving actresses who were members of the church. One reported connection involved actress Nazanin Boniadi, who later left Scientology. The response was immediate and aggressive. Scientology representatives and Tom's legal team strongly denied the claims, threatening legal action and calling the article shoddy journalism and religious bigotry. But the story didn't fade. Journalist Roger Friedman later said he received confirmation from director and former Scientologist Paul Haggis, who supported the claims over time. For fans, the picture started looking unsettling. Was Tom fully steering his own personal life, or was faith shaping more than the public ever understood? As years passed and his family life grew quieter, attention slowly narrowed toward the most personal bond of all, his relationship with his daughter, Suri. And this is where that father-daughter story started creeping toward the headlines. But before the silence, before the distance, there was a love story the whole world bought into. A fast, flashy romance that felt like destiny on steroids. Hollywood even gave it a name that stuck instantly: Tomcat. When Tomcat burst onto the scene in early 2005, it felt like a takeover. Tom Cruise had officially moved on from Nicole Kidman, and after his quiet split from Penelope Cruz, attention locked onto a new face, actress Katie Holmes. At the time, Katie was engaged to Chris Klein, and everything seemed settled, until it wasn't. Old words suddenly resurfaced. In a 2004 interview with 17, Holmes had once admitted, "I used to think that I was going to marry Tom Cruise." That comment came back loud. Just 6 months later, her engagement ended quietly, and by April 2005, she and Tom were spotted together in Rome. 2 days after that, they hit their first red carpet as a couple at the David DiDonatello Awards. From that moment, it was chaos in a glossy magazine cover way. Paparazzi couldn't get enough. Fans crowned them Tomcat, and affectionate photos flooded tabloids non-stop. Holmes later spoke openly about her feelings, saying, "When I met Tom, I was completely in love," and added, "Yes, I admired him growing up. He's Tom Cruise." Those words fueled the hype even more. Then came the moment nobody forgot. In May 2005, Tom appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show, and pop culture history was made. He jumped on Oprah's couch, shouted his love for Katie, and even pulled her on stage with him. The energy was wild, emotional, and impossible to ignore. Tomcat wasn't just a couple, it was a full-blown spectacle. That moment didn't just trend, it exploded worldwide. Some fans called it pure romance, others side-eyed the intensity and started questioning what was really going on. But Tom Cruise wasn't backing down even a little. Just 1 month later, in June 2005, he doubled down and made it official. He and Katie Holmes were engaged. The proposal was as big as the hype. Tom popped the question in Paris with a 5-carat yellow diamond ring that instantly became tabloid gold. Standing at a press event, he declared, "Today is a magnificent day for me. I'm engaged to a magnificent woman." Cameras flashed, headlines screamed, and Tomcat mania hit a whole new level. But while the world stayed locked on the romance, even bigger life changes were already lining up. This wasn't just about red carpets anymore. It was about building a family under nonstop scrutiny. In April 2006, Holmes gave birth to their first child, a daughter named Suri, born in Santa Monica, California. The moment instantly turned global. Their happiness became front-page news when Suri appeared on the cover of Vanity Fair, turning a private milestone into a public spectacle. Later that year, Holmes opened up about becoming a mother, saying, "The moment the doctor handed me Suri, I was just ready. The feeling is indescribable. All I can say is the moment I looked in her eyes, I felt like a mom." The world watched closely as Cruise and Holmes stepped into parenthood together, smiling, celebrated, and surrounded by cameras. What no one knew yet was how much that spotlight would eventually change everything. Just months later, in November 2006, the fairy tale hit its peak. Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes tied the knot in an ultra-luxurious ceremony at a castle in Italy. The wedding reportedly cost more than $3 million, and the guest list read like a Hollywood power ranking. Jennifer Lopez and Mark Anthony, John Travolta with Kelly Preston, and David Beckham with Victoria Beckham all showed up. Cameras flashed non-stop. Katie kept it close by choosing her sister Nancy as her maid of honor. Tom, meanwhile, raised eyebrows by selecting Scientology leader David Miscavige as his best man. For Katie, who once admitted as a teenager that she dreamed of marrying Tom Cruise, the moment felt like a real-life fantasy come true. On the surface, they had it all. A glamorous marriage, a growing family, and endless public attention. But behind the glossy photos and smiling headlines, quiet questions started bubbling up. Some wondered if the pressure, the spotlight, and outside forces were stacking too high for anyone to handle. Then came the shocker. In June 2012, just weeks after Tom gave a glowing Playboy interview praising Katie, the story flipped overnight. Holmes filed for divorce, catching nearly everyone off guard. Tom later admitted to CBS News that he didn't see it coming. The legal process moved fast, with a settlement reached in just 11 days. Neither Tom nor Katie said much publicly about what went wrong, but rumors ran wild and louder than official statements. Many believed Holmes was acting to protect her daughter from what she viewed as the strict structure surrounding Scientology. During Tom's deposition in a lawsuit against Bauer Media, he was directly asked if Katie left in part to shield Suri from Scientology. The question alone spoke volumes, and it hung in the air unanswered. Offended and direct, Tom Cruise didn't hesitate when the question hit. He answered firmly, saying, "There is no need to protect my daughter from my religion." The room went quiet. When pressed again, asked whether Katie Holmes herself had mentioned protecting Suri, he responded carefully, "Did she say?" That was one of the assertions. Yes. The exchange alone raised more eyebrows than it settled. After the divorce, Holmes was awarded primary custody of their daughter, Suri Cruise. Tom was granted visitation rights, but reports soon painted a different picture. By 2016, whispers turned into headlines claiming he rarely saw his daughter at all. The silence was getting louder. That same year, In Touch Weekly dropped a report that stunned fans. According to the outlet, Tom had not seen or spoken to Suri in over 1,000 days, nearly 2.5 years. What started as one of Hollywood's loudest, flashiest love stories now felt distant, fractured, and unresolved. The narrative had fully shifted. No more red carpets or family photo ops. Just unanswered questions, vague statements, and two adults stepping further away from the spotlight. And at the center of it all was one small life that didn't ask for any of this. A child who once grew up surrounded by flashing cameras was now growing up quietly, almost invisibly. The world watched her enter life as America's baby, But her journey quickly changed direction. From global headlines to private hallways, Suri Cruz entered the world with a level of attention no child could escape. What came next would be shaped not by fame, but by absence, silence, and distance. Born on April 18, 2006 to Hollywood heavyweights Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes, Suri Cruz entered the world already famous. She was instantly labeled the most famous baby in America, a title no child ever asks for. The public waited months just to see her face, and when it finally happened, it came in full spectacle on the cover of Vanity Fair. Cradled by her smiling parents and photographed by legendary photographer Annie Leibovitz, the images became instant history. At that time, Suri was everywhere. Fashion blogs tracked her outfits, paparazzi followed her every step, and cameras documented her childhood like a daily series. Fame wasn't approaching her, it was already surrounding her. But as the years passed, the energy shifted. Instead of becoming more visible, Suri's life became more protected. Katie Holmes slowly and intentionally pulled her daughter away from the spotlight, choosing distance over exposure. It wasn't sudden, it was strategic. Growing up in Manhattan, Suri lived mostly out of view. Shielded by her mother and raised far from the influence of her father's world and Church of Scientology, her childhood unfolded quietly. No red carpets, no reality-style access, no public commentary. As she reached adulthood, a quiet but powerful choice stood in front of her. Step back into fame or stay grounded in the private life her mother worked hard to build. Industry insiders claim Suri and her father currently have no relationship at all. One source explained, "Katie has safeguarded Suri, and she's a devoted mom. This is a girl who is a private citizen. She hasn't lived her life in public." Holmes herself addressed this clearly in a 2023 interview with Glamour, saying she wanted to protect Suri from the spotlight because privacy gave her daughter something fame never could, space to grow on her own terms. She was everywhere at such a young age, impossible to miss. Then the visibility faded, and the words that followed revealed just how deep that mother-daughter bond truly runs. Katie Holmes later said, "I'm very grateful to be a parent, to be her parent. She's an incredible person. She's my heart." Those words hit hard. They describe a life that looks nothing like Suri's beginning. Instead of growing up fueled by headlines, Suri Cruz was raised with intention and protection. Her world became quieter, steadier, and far more controlled than the chaos she was born into. But behind that careful shield, one giant question still hangs in the air. Where does her father fit into this story now? Before everything unraveled, Tom Cruise spoke with absolute certainty about the dad he planned to be. In a 2006 interview with Vanity Fair, just after Suri's birth, he said, "My whole life, I always wanted to be a father. I always said my children would be able to depend on me, and I would always be there for them and love them." He doubled down, saying he'd never make promises to his kids he couldn't keep. Tom also said, "You can never give a child too much love. There's just no way." At the time, he was already a father to two adopted children, Isabella and Connor, from his marriage to Nicole Kidman. To the public, he looked fully committed to family life. He proudly introduced Suri to the world, smiled for cameras, and just months earlier had shocked pop culture by jumping on Oprah Winfrey's couch shouting, "I'm in love!" The message was loud, emotional, and unforgettable. But when Suri was only 6 years old, everything changed. In 2012, Holmes quietly filed for divorce after 6 years of marriage. According to reports, she planned the move carefully with the help of her father. No press tour, No public breakdown, just a clean, fast exit that would reshape all their lives. The split wasn't just quiet, it was calculated. Katie Holmes reportedly worked closely with her father, lawyer Martin Holmes, and allegedly used burner phones to keep everything sealed tight. No leaks, no warnings, no public buildup. At the time, Tom Cruise was overseas in Iceland, filming Oblivion when the news hit. Sources say he was completely blindsided. The last time Tom and Suri Cruise were seen together publicly came shortly after. It was a family trip to Disney World in the summer of 2012. Photos surfaced, smiles were captured, and then nothing! That moment quietly marked the end of their public connection. Soon after, another detail surfaced during a deposition tied to Tom's lawsuit against tabloid outlets. Court documents revealed Tom acknowledged that Holmes had filed for divorce in part to protect Suri from Scientology. At the same time, the divorce agreement laid out strict terms, annual payments of $400,000 until Suri turned 18, along with full coverage for healthcare and education. On paper, everything looked structured and complete, but demonstrates something darker. As years passed, reports suggested the emotional bond had faded. By 2016, In Touch Weekly claimed Tom had not seen or spoken to Suri in over 1,000 days. The once loud, headline-grabbing father-daughter connection had gone silent. And that silence only made the mystery heavier. No photos, no sightings, no confirmation of contact ever returning. For many observers, one shadow loomed over every unanswered question: the influence of the Church of Scientology. Whether coincidence or cause, Scientology sat at the center of nearly every theory surrounding the growing distance between Tom and his daughter. For years, silence wasn't just personal, it was legal. Katie Holmes is widely believed to have signed strict non-disclosure agreements connected to her marriage and her time linked to the Church of Scientology. That meant whatever happened behind closed doors stayed locked away. No interviews, no tell-alls, no clarifying the rumors that swirled non-stop. But the clock kept ticking. When Suri Cruise turned 18, everything quietly changed. Under New York law, she reached the age of majority, legally free to speak for herself if she ever chooses to. No guardians, no restrictions, no signatures tying her voice down. Journalist Tony Ortega broke it down clearly. He explained that Suri would have been far too young to sign any agreement. "She's free to talk if she wants to," Ortega said, adding that it would be really interesting if she ever decides to share her side. That single possibility sent shockwaves through those who followed the story for years. Ortega also suggested Katie's decision to leave when Suri was just 6 may have been influenced by what she witnessed with Tom's older children inside Scientology. That observation added another layer to an already complicated picture. Scientology itself operates under strict internal rules. Members who leave can be labeled suppressive persons, often called SPS, and remaining members may be instructed to completely disconnect from them. Ortega admitted the situation around Tom remains a gray zone. As he put it plainly, "We don't know for sure if Katie was ever declared an SP." And that uncertainty keeps the biggest question alive. If silence was enforced for years, what happens now that it no longer has to be? He didn't sugarcoat it at all. Journalist Tony Ortega explained that for a regular member of the Church of Scientology, being told to disconnect from a spouse or even a child isn't unheard of. But then he dropped the real bomb. Because Tom Cruise isn't just any member, he's the church's top celebrity. Rules don't apply the same way. Ortega pointed out that an average person could be kicked out for ignoring orders, but leadership, including David Miscavige, wouldn't dare make that move with Tom. Those claims weren't standing alone. Former Scientologists Mike Rinder and Jeff Augustine backed them up. Augustine added even more context, explaining that his own wife once held one of the highest positions in the church before leaving. His perspective carried weight and concern. Augustine described the deeper issue bluntly. He said the situation with Suri points to a larger pattern inside Scientology, how people can be labeled no longer useful or seen as threats, slowly turning into what he called non-persons. To outsiders watching from the sidelines, it felt like Suri had simply vanished from her father's world, not out of anger, but out of a system much bigger than family dynamics. And yet, despite growing up away from flashing cameras, Suri Cruise has quietly shown signs of her own creative spark. While attending an exclusive school in Manhattan, she stepped into music in a low-key but meaningful way. Suri sang the classic song Blue Moon during the opening credits of Alone Together, directed by her mother, Katie Holmes. Holmes explained the moment simply, saying, "I always want the highest level of talent, so I asked her. She's very, very talented. She said she would do it, and she recorded it, and I let her do her thing." Suri later lent her voice again in Holmes's film, Rare Objects, a quiet reminder that even away from the spotlight, her story is still unfolding. Even now, her life stays mostly off-limits. Katie Holmes has been extremely careful about what she shares publicly, choosing protection over publicity every single time. When she has spoken, her words reveal strength, not spectacle. Holmes once described her daughter simply, saying she came out very strong, adding, "She's always been a strong personality." Those few words say more than any headline ever could. As Suri Cruise prepares for college, another emotional shift is happening. Holmes openly admitted that letting go won't be easy. In an interview with Town & Country, she said, "You want them to stay with you forever, but they're these amazing beings, and you have to do everything you can to give them what they need, and then they're going to go. And that's going to be very, very sad for me." That's not Hollywood talk, that's real life. Meanwhile, former Scientology spokesperson Mike Rinder, who himself lost contact with two of his own children after leaving the church, offered a powerful and emotional statement. He said plainly, "Suri is not a Scientologist and never will be. She deserves love and compassion as she enters adulthood." Those words landed heavy. Now Suri stands at a true crossroads. One path leads toward the fame she was born into. The other leads deeper into the quiet, grounded world her mother fought to build around her. And the world is watching closely, waiting to see which direction she chooses. But as Suri stepped quietly into adulthood, her father was moving back into full view. Tom Cruise returned to the spotlight, cameras flashing once again. In May 2025, at the New York premiere of Mission: Impossible, The Final Reckoning, one simple, innocent question from E! News would suddenly reopen the entire conversation. It was a Father's Day question, and it stopped everyone cold. The question sounded harmless. An E! News reporter asked Tom Cruise what his ideal Father's Day would look like. Tom paused just for a second, long enough for people to notice. "You know," he said slowly, choosing his words. Then he answered, "Just having fun, man." He kept going, making movies, big adventures, having a great time. And that was it. No mention of kids, no shout-out, no acknowledgement at all. Fans were stunned. The silence felt louder than anything he could have said. Especially knowing Tom is a father of 3, Isabella, now 32, and Connor, now 30, whom he adopted with Nicole Kidman, and Suri Cruise, now 19, whom he shares with Katie Holmes. For many watching, the omission was impossible to ignore. Tom and Katie were married for 6 years before separating in 2012. Holmes then moved to the East Coast, raising Suri in New York, far from Hollywood and far from her father's world. Since that time, Tom has not been publicly seen with Suri, not once. The distance wasn't just emotional anymore, it was visible. Meanwhile, Suri has quietly built her own path. She's now a college student at Carnegie Mellon University, often returning to New York to spend time with her mother. Their bond is known to be extremely close, steady, grounded, and intentional. What made that Father's Day moment hit even harder was this. Suri had already made a quiet, deeply personal decision, one that didn't require an interview or a statement. A choice about her own identity that spoke louder than any red carpet answer ever could. And once people noticed it, the conversation shifted instantly. Then came the move that said everything, without saying a word. In 2024, Suri Cruise quietly stopped using the last name Cruise altogether. Instead, she began going by a new name, Suri Noel, choosing her mother's middle name as her surname. The shift was subtle, but the message landed loud. The change first caught attention on a casting sheet for her high school production of The Addams Family, where she performed as Morticia Addams. There it was in plain sight, Suri Noel. No announcement, no explanation, just a new identity stepping forward. Soon after, the same name appeared again on her LaGuardia High School graduation pamphlet. Then, once more on a Broadway playbill for Head Over Heels, where she was again listed as Suri Noel. By that point, it was impossible to ignore. This wasn't a typo. It was a choice. While it remains unclear whether the change has been made legally, insiders say the meaning behind it is deeply personal and powerful. One source told Page 6, she's showing appreciation for her mother by using her middle name. The source added that Suri wants an identity that stands on its own, one not tied to an absent father. Those close to the situation confirmed what many had already suspected. Suri and Tom Cruise have been estranged since his split from Katie Holmes, and according to reports, this decision was made fully on Suri's own terms. No pressure, no branding, just a young woman choosing to honor the parent who raised her almost entirely. In one quiet move, Suri drew a line between who she was born as and who she chose to become. The timing made everything hit even harder. Just one day after Suri Cruise officially graduated from LaGuardia High School, cameras caught Tom Cruise in London, smiling, relaxed, and celebrating at a Taylor Swift concert. The contrast was impossible to miss. Fans didn't hold back. Seeing Tom enjoying a sold-out show while his daughter marked one of the biggest milestones of her life left many stunned. To a lot of people watching, the moment felt symbolic. While Suri stepped forward into adulthood, her father seemed worlds away, physically and emotionally. That image only reinforced what many already believed. Suri was building her own future on her own terms, while Tom remained distant from her daily life. And once again, the conversation circled back to one recurring factor: the influence of the Church of Scientology. Many observers believe Tom's deep connection to Scientology has played a major role in the long-standing divide between father and daughter. His two older children, Isabella Cruz and Connor Cruz, whom he shares with Nicole Kidman, are active Scientologists and have been seen publicly with him in recent years. That connection has remained intact. Suri, however, has stayed completely separate from that world. No appearances, no public ties, no visible connection at all. Court records show Tom met his financial responsibilities, paying $400,000 per year in child support until Suri turned 18, along with full coverage for medical and dental care. But for many watching this unfold, money was never the real issue. The real question stayed the same: presence versus absence, and which one mattered more in the end. Insurance, education, college tuition, extracurriculars, every financial box was checked. Yet despite all of that support, there has still been no public sign of a real relationship behind the scenes. What was visible, though, was how intentionally Katie Holmes worked to raise Suri Cruz quietly, carefully, and safely away from chaos. In an interview with InStyle, Holmes opened up about the pressure she faced during the intense media storm that followed the divorce. "That time was intense," she admitted. "It was a lot of attention, and I had a little child on top of it." She even shared that there were moments where the attention became almost surreal, adding, "We had some funny moments out and about in public." Still, the stress was real. Now, years later, Holmes says that season shaped everything. "I feel like I can be more creative and have more time, have my voice," she explained. "The distance from the spotlight didn't shrink her life, it strengthened it." She also spoke proudly about the woman her daughter has become. "I want to make sure she's 100% herself and strong, confident, and able, and to know it," Holmes said. She came out very strong. She's always been a strong personality. Holmes described Suri as focused and determined, explaining that when she chooses something, she commits fully. "She'll pick an activity and work her butt off until she's really good at it," she said. Then she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna try the next thing." She's very focused and a hard worker. That mindset didn't come by accident. It was built. These reflections make one thing clear: an enormous amount of effort went into giving Suri stability, confidence, and a sense of normalcy, especially far from Hollywood's glare. While her father remained distant, her mother doubled down on presence, protection, and purpose. And as Suri steps into adulthood, the path she's chosen says it all. A grounded life, away from fame, away from spectacle, even as the daughter of one of the most powerful and famous actors on the planet. That choice didn't just happen, it was raised into her. By every move she makes, Suri Cruz keeps proving one thing loud and clear: she wants a quiet, grounded life. In July 2025, she was spotted riding the New York City subway like any regular commuter after returning home from college in Pittsburgh. No SUVs, no security team, no spotlight chasing her down. Photos showed Suri dressed low-key and comfortable: a cropped gray top, dark leggings, retro sneakers with long socks, and a navy tote bag slung over her shoulder. Her hair was pulled back into a simple ponytail. No designer flex, no celebrity signals. She blended right into the crowd, just another young woman catching a train. Then came the noise. Reports from Daily Mail claimed Suri had gained access to part of a trust fund from her father, suggesting millions were already waiting for her. But that story didn't sit for long. Katie Holmes shut it down fast. Posting a screenshot of the article on Instagram, she wrote, "Completely false, Daily Mail, you can stop making stuff up." Short, direct, no playing around. Fans instantly flooded the comments with support. One person wrote, "Only you know the truth, and that's what counts. We love you and believe you." Another added, "Way to stand up for your daughter, Katie. I can't imagine it's easy, but you're doing great. The media needs to leave kids alone." The message was clear. People saw the effort and they respected it. Now, as Suri balances university life, creative projects, and trips back home to New York, her choices quietly send a powerful message. While her father lives in a world of premieres, red carpets, and big adventures, Suri is choosing a completely different road. One built on privacy, independence, and the steady love of the mother who never left her side. So what do you think? Will Suri ever reconnect with Tom Cruise as an adult? And which path do you believe she'll choose? A quiet life or a return to the public eye? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives like this into Hollywood's most fascinating stories, make sure you subscribe to Juicy Reel right now. You don't want to miss what's coming next.